Again, I'd like to welcome everybody and just thank all of you for taking the time to join us this morning for our virtual open house. My name is Heather Kidd, and I'm the Director of Enrollment Management, as well as the House Director for our Girls Residence, Victoria Manor. So for our open house today, you'll be hearing from our head of school, Mr. Muska, and followed by a Q&A with a couple of our parents and one of our senior students. So as I said, this is being recorded today. And my colleague, Mrs. Tracy Colt, she'll be manning our online chat feature. Hi, Tracy, there she is, which is located at the bottom of your screen. So I'm sure that you've already visited our website because you've registered for the webinar, and you've likely seen our video. So we won't be showing that again. But we really wanted to do is for you to hear firsthand from our Albert family on some of their experiences here at Albert.College. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome our head of school, Mr. Mark Muska. Over to you, Mr. Muska.
Well, thank you very much, Heather, and good morning, everyone. It's great to see such interest in the school. I'd like to thank the parents, Liam, our prefect, and the staff for being on the call. You know, at least the staff and love talking about our school. So it's a great opportunity that you're here. We're able to brag about Albert.College. Albert.College is 164 years old. So that means we've been educating international and local day students for over a century and a half. And we're a small school. Between the grades 7 through 12, we're just shy of 200 students, 192 students. And the makeup is roughly 50-50 between boarding and day students. So half of our students are international students, the other half are local day students from Belleville and the surrounding area, so the county, Napanee. We have students from Kingston as well. Amongst our boarding students, they represent about 15 countries around the world. So Albert.College is a very unique private school for several reasons. One is just simply where we're located. If you look at a map of Ontario, Belleville is smack right in the middle of the major corridor from the eastern side of our province to Toronto. And Belleville is not a large city. And so this affords us a wonderful opportunity. If you think about the great Canadian outdoors, it is literally at our doorstep. So the opportunity for students, whether it's to be on the Bay of Quinte or be beside the Bay of Quinte, or hiking trips or dog sledding or camping, it quite literally is at our doorstep. So it's not only the larger school events where the whole school does, for example, camping, it's also smaller things like weekend trips for our boarding students, for things for them to do, to go hiking locally. Just gives them a real wonderful experience of the great Canadian outdoors. It's also an advantage because of where we're located. We're very close to the cultural center. So really it's a 2-hour drive west to Toronto. We're 2.5 hours to Ottawa, 3 hours to Montreal. And so while we're in a small city, we can still experience everything that the larger cultural centers has to offer by virtue of day trips or weekend trips to these areas. The other thing that's an advantage because of our size and where we're located came up, we realized this as a result of COVID. Just simply because we're in a smaller city, we haven't had to contend with larger outbreaks that have been seen in bigger parts of our province. In fact, in the 18 months or so that COVID's been around, there has only been one case of a student who was contracted within the student body. There's been no other cases so far, knock wood, of student-to-student transmission. And I think that's because of A, we are in a smaller setting, but B, because the school itself is smaller and we have lots of space to spread out. Our students are very compliant with all of the safety protocols that we have in place. Our cleansing is second to none. We have plexiglass, even where students between tables, where they eat, mandatory vaccination. All of these things make us a safe school. So that's another unique advantage to being in Belleville. I've worked in large schools, I've worked in small schools, and Albert as a small school offers another advantage. And that is that everyone gets to know everyone very, very well. Teachers know the students, even students that aren't in their classes. The students know each other very, very well. And there's a real sense of camaraderie and friendship that comes about as a result of students getting to know one another well. And it's unfortunate you can't be here for an in-person tour, because I hear this over and over and over whenever a family leaves. The comment I hear back is, I felt it right away. As soon as I walked into the building, they say, we could feel this sense of friendship and camaraderie. It's just evident at the school. And so it's a real unique aspect of Albert.College. We follow the Ontario curriculum, so that means that students graduate at the end of grade 12 with an Ontario secondary school diploma, and that of course opens doors for them to universities in Ontario and around the world. But we consider that the basement, not the ceiling. So meaning that we add on top of the Ontario curriculum. And you've seen this on our website, our 5 A's, that's of course academics, arts, athletics, active citizenship, and adventure. And we feel that in order to graduate students who are well-rounded, they have to have experiences in all of these different areas. I know you want to hear from the parents. I'm not going to speak much longer, other than to add what's unique about Albert.College is also our boarding experience, because it gives students an opportunity to work with students from around the world that have different cultures, different experiences, different backgrounds. And what better way to prepare students for the world of the global village that awaits them when they leave high school. So Heather, I'm going to turn it back to you. Again, welcome, and I really appreciate you joining us and learning more about the school this morning. Heather?
Thank you, Mr. Muska. Now it is my pleasure to be able to introduce some of our panelists this morning. As we said, as a small prep school, we focus on university preparation. So again, we think it's best to hear firsthand from our kids and our current families. So David and Fiona Davies are current parents joining us from Bermuda. Their daughter, Samantha, she's currently in grade 11 boarding, and this is her second year with us, I believe. Then we have Miss Janine Gray, and she's also a new parent this year, and her 2 sons, they live locally, but her 2 sons join us as 5-day boarders, and so they're here in our boarding residence during the week, and then they get to go home with the family on the weekend. Liam Mowini, hi Liam. Liam is a current senior student in grade 12 this year. And Liam will tell you a bit about himself shortly, but he is one of our student leaders and he is our chapel prefect this year. So welcome to all of our panelists. Thank you for taking time out to join us today. We really appreciate it. So why don't we start with David and Fiona? You're up first. So why did you originally choose Albert.College, given you're coming from Bermuda? And what do you feel is the value added of an Albert.College education?
Well, that's a great question. And really it ties very nicely with what Mr. Muska was saying earlier. I mean, I think the first on our agenda was making sure it was coming from Bermuda. It was going to be easy to get back and forth to the island. So the location is prime there. I mean, Mr. Muska was right. It's an easy way to get back and forth, with the Toronto airport being right there, or even the Ottawa airport. It's only a couple hours away. So it's right in the middle of everywhere you'd want to be, while at the same time being in Belleville, which is a beautiful location, but also very safe. You have schools in Toronto or other places where they're right downtown, but being in Belleville and surrounded by a very safe community was certainly first and foremost in our minds. Second of all was the school reputation and size, and Mr. Muska is absolutely right. When we showed up there for our tour, we were not anticipating to enjoy and pick up on that vibe from the school of just what kind of a family atmosphere it is from both the staff and the students and the administration and everybody working in that building. So we walked away from that first experience just blown away by how comfortable both us and more importantly Samantha felt when we left that building. So that was absolutely fantastic. And really, when we started to ask some of the students and staff about that family atmosphere, or that family connection, the tight-knit group that they do build, and certainly has proven over the last couple of years, has just been absolutely phenomenal in terms of the broadening of Samantha's understanding in terms of what she's been exposed to, both in terms of the adventure side and the academic side and the sporting side, which we can talk about later, but also just having inside of her dorm in the sisterhood that is Victoria Manor is students from Germany, from Korea, from Japan, from Russia, everywhere, the Four Corners. She certainly would not be exposed to that here at home, or in many places. So that when we left there, that was certainly foremost in our mind. Fiona, did you have something else to add?
No, and I would just add quickly, you summed it up well, the experiences. I mean, you touched on it, Mr. Musk, with the dog sledding and the opportunity to go, the camping and the hiking and opportunities Sam would never have coming from here. And she's just throwing herself into it. I think all guns going. So she's really making the most of the opportunities there.
that value out of those 5 A's that you mentioned does come true. And it's not just, I think it's for people who are listening, it's not just for a tagline that the school has. Every opportunity the school has to really build that student around those 5 A's, academics, active citizenship, very important, adventure, arts and athletics is absolutely phenomenal. And certainly the school does take every opportunity to push or help the student find their passion in one of those five A's. So that's rung true. And I think that's probably where the value add is for sure, for certain for us.
Great, thank you very much. Liam, we're gonna go to you next. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been at Albert. And then when you're finished that, tell us what you've appreciated most about being a student at Albert.College.
Good morning, everyone. So I am Liam Mawini. So right now I am the chapel prefect at Albert.College. So I am responsible for running our morning announcements in the chapel now. While we've gone back online, I've been running all of that by myself. But now that we're going back in person, I have my other prefects there. We have a prefect team that we're all working together, and we all help plan events for the school and just try and make it a fun atmosphere for everyone. So I've been at Albert.College since senior kindergarten now. So I've been here for quite some time now. I've been through all of the steps of Albert.College. I went through the entire of the elementary school, then the middle school, and now finally I am in the senior school and finishing up grade 12 here. So what I think I most appreciated from Albert.College is just the attention I can get from my teachers. I think that it's a really important thing to have teachers that you can actually build relationships with. And I really feel that I have built good relationships with my teachers because of, as Mr. Muska said, it's a small school. So your classes are much smaller than you would be having at any other school. So you can really build relationships with those teachers. And especially, I really appreciate my advisor. I feel like I've really built a strong relationship with her, and I trust her with everything. And if there is any problem I'm having, I can go to her instantly and she will deal with it and help me through it, or anything that I need, she will be there for me. And I just don't think you'd get that at any other school that would be big, because you just don't have that opportunity to build that relationship, because there are just so many other students around there that they have to give attention to everyone. They can't just give you special treatment regardless of who you are. So I just think that being at a small school, you can really build those relationships and get that attention from your teachers, and they're really there for you no matter what, because you've built a great relationship with them.
Great, thank you. Very true, very true. And that's one of the things that many of our students say is just that relationship building with teachers and res staff, et cetera. So it's nice to hear you say that. Janine, you're next. And this is a two-part question for you. As a new parent with two boys in our 5-day boarding program, Jude and Nolan, why did you choose a 5-day boarding option for your boys when you live locally? And then the second part to that is, how do you feel they've grown and matured while being in boarding with us?
Excellent questions, and hello, everyone. Both of my boys, well, my eldest, Jude, he was going into grade 11 this year. He was in the public school system for the last, well, since he began school, actually. And my younger son, Nolan, he was in a small private school and was doing fairly well in that. He was about to transition into the public high school that my older son was in, and it was worrisome because of the fact that big, huge class sizes, for one thing. Another thing, the last couple of years, they've been doing remote learning, and it's been a joke. To be fair, in the public school system, it has been horrendous. And both of them were really kind of ill prepared, I felt, to go into their higher levels of education, especially when they're preparing for university in the next couple of years for the eldest. So that was why we decided to send them there originally. And then the whole choice of leaving them in the 5-day boarding program was basically to kind of make up for lost time. sort of. We all felt, the boys included, that if they were to immerse themselves in this situation, they would benefit far greater than if they were to just go, from 9 to 3 every day or whatever. So that was it, just kind of being really involved in their schooling and taking it really seriously and making up for lost time. And then also the fact that was really appealing to me was that they were going to have the advisors, like Liam had mentioned, and they would be kind of dedicated to my kids, and they were going to be supervised 5 days a week during a study period, which I was not able to, incorporate into our home life without a lot of misery. So I thought, what the heck? Let's get rid of the misery. Let's bring back the joy, and the kids can go to school 5 days a week and concentrate on school. And when they come home, they're concentrating on home and family life. And it's been fabulous, really. So those were the main reasons. Also, I wanted to get the kids both involved with their new peer group. And I thought by having them in the dorms, residing with their peers, they would definitely build relationships quicker than they would have if they were just going 5 days a week. And, this is the time of their lives when they're going to make relationships that will benefit them through friendship and opportunities in the future, and all that sort of thing. So I'm just looking to their future, really, and that was why we made that decision. Plus, they're close enough that if I miss them too much, I can bring them home.
Very true.
So that's about it. Oh, and maturity. You asked about how they've matured, and that's a beautiful question, because it's been amazing, to be honest. They've really gained a lot of confidence in being away from home like they have. And I mean, they're responsible for doing their own bedding. Well, that wouldn't happen at home, so they make sure they bring their bedding and wash their bedding. They look after themselves, and they're learning how to be away from family and learning how to make choices that work for them and have a little less kind of supervision from mommy,
It always helps when somebody in the residence is, telling them it's homework time. It's fine. They listen perfectly.
100%.
Thank you very much, Janine.
You're welcome.
I should add too that your boys are here on a 5-day boarding program, but we also do have multi-boarding. So we do have some students that, if they have band practice in the evening or something like that, then sometimes they'll maybe board for 2 days a week or 3 days a week. So we're very flexible with that option and try and work closely with families to do what's best for the family. So thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
David and Fiona. Sam is, as we know, Samantha or Sam, is very musical. She's athletic and very academic as well. Can you talk a little bit about how she's been able to balance all of the extracurriculars, her love of sport and music, with the academics and her social time?
Yes, great question. Balance is key, and I think it boils down to everything that Albert's certainly shown us and as a family. You're right. So Samantha, just to give her a quick introduction, she's an avid soccer player. She loves music. Is a saxophone player by heart, but will pick up as many instruments as she can to try and teach herself how to play. And then she's very competitive when it comes to academics. And so I know she tries her best to study as hard as she can. So balancing those three items has, while she's been at home, certainly proved difficult, given she wants to put her all into everything. And I think that was one of our concerns when we gave her over to Albert to look after for the school year. But again, similar to what Janine was saying with her two boys, it allows the kids to figure out where their balance is. And so she will definitely throw herself into all three of those items, and then dorm life as well, which is great, being very social or trying to be social. But finding that balance independently is where we've really seen some growth. So as parents, we see them always as the little kids that they've always has been to us. So I think we take great pride when somebody says, oh my gosh, I can't believe Samantha has, grown, or I didn't expect that, or it seems that she's really quite confident where she didn't used to be 2 years ago. And again, I think this really boils down to a lot of what the staff around her had to bring to the table in terms of Miss Kidd, you and the people at the Victoria Manor certainly have your eye on her, but so do everybody else in terms of the administration, and the teaching staff seem to coordinate amazingly well, all the way down to the food hall, and the kitchen staff know Samantha. So it seems that everybody's keeping their eye on her to try and keep her on the rails while she continues to find that balance independently. Fiona, I think you've got some.
And speaking to the same point Liam had made about that relationship with their advisors, so it really is that family environment that you feel comfortable that your child is, even though you're not there and they're in this boarding environment, your child is so well supervised and cared for that they are allowed to grow at their pace, but they're being very well looked after at Albert as well. And that's certainly benefited Sam tremendously.
Great, thank you. Liam, what do you think people would find most surprising about Albert.College?
I think that people would find most surprising when they come to Albert is, again, just the atmosphere of the school itself. Like, we can say as a school, oh, we have this family atmosphere, all that, but you don't actually realize how big of an impact that family environment actually has on the kids and the staff until you experience it yourself. Unfortunately, being online, you can't actually come in, but if you could come in, you could really feel, as soon as you walk in the doors, you feel that family environment, and everyone's around talking to each other. Everyone knows each other. Everyone has relationships with each other because we're such a close, tight-knit school. And I just think that is so surprising as a school, like, to have everyone know each other, like, everyone knows everyone's name. Everyone knows at least something about someone else. Like, you can go to anyone and talk to them no matter what, because everyone is just so close. And it's not even just the kids, it's also the staff too. The staff are close with each other and close with the kids. And I think that's really important, that the staff and the student body have those relationships between each other, because I think that just makes learning from those teachers just that much more fun and interesting. And it just makes it so much easier to actually learn from the teachers because I have a relationship with them. And I think that's just really surprising to anyone who, coming from a bigger school, I think that just surprises most people.
Okay, great, Liam. It's interesting. I was doing an interview yesterday afternoon and we got talking about the family atmosphere, and I was talking about how at the beginning of the year, one of the things I think is really unique about our school is that everybody, teachers, res staff, day students, boarding students, the day after, excuse me, the day after they arrive, we pack up and we go camping up in Algonquin Park for 3 days. When people start at the school, the students aren't really nervous about the academics. What they're really nervous about is, will I fit in? And so for us, that's key in having our students feel comfortable and getting to know their teachers and their classmates. So by the time they come back from camp and actually start the first day of classes, everybody's relaxed, they've made their friends, and then the academics just flow from there. So thank you, Liam, for saying that, because I think it is very true that you don't get that at every school. Janine, both of your boys are quite shy. So how do you feel that the extracurricular program and or living in residence has really helped in that transition to Albert?
Well, I think it started very much from day one, and the fact that you guys have assigned the prefects and they're just genuine, kind people that you've already, you've known and you've assigned them to these roles. They helped to make my kids feel welcome from day one, which enabled them to confidently and comfortably join the extracurricular activities. And I remember picking them up after the first week and being really excited to hear, but not really expecting to hear that they had made friends and whatnot, because in a week it's tough. But both of them they had stories to tell me about their peers in the class, their, things that they were doing together. And it was easy for them, it seemed, which, especially for my younger one, Nolan, it was never really easy for him to kind of connect with people. And you guys made it easy.
Perfect. I love to hear that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So David and Fiona, Sam has been in boarding 2 years now, and next year will be her third and final year with us, unfortunately. She does tend to be a quiet young lady, not as much now as when she got here, but she was very quiet when she first joined us, a bit like Janine's boys. So how do you feel living in residence has benefited her and her personal growth since joining us?
I would say just the confidence has grown. And we hear this from, as she comes home, we hear this from family. As she's reaching out to people for summer employment, it's been that just increase in her confidence. And like you say, Sam has never been the life of the party, never been loud, not going, but she's certainly blossoming. And that speaks to her comfort level and how welcome and comfortable she is at Albert. And it's, like I said, it's just that independence, and we can see it preparing her for university even, and how much easier I think that transition will be for her than for her older sister, who went from Bermuda and living at home and went to Canada University and found it more of a difficult transition. But Sam now, in terms of confidence with traveling, navigating airports, getting to Albert, it's there, she's got it, she's comfortable. We tend to ask more questions. She's like, Mom and Dad, like, I've got this. It's okay. And she does. And that's credit to the Albert environment, that it's helped her blossom and grow that way. David, if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate that is that both the confidence she's getting by living in a dorm, and to back Janine up in terms of how you get them to clean their rooms, I'll never know, because certainly but having that life balance, or that understanding of where I fit, and that confidence to interact with the rest of the world has certainly been eye-opening for us. But again, we see Samantha as that, that toddler, that 5-year-old that we've known forever. But certainly when she's dealing with other people, we do take that step back and go, wow, this is really somebody who has blossomed over the last couple of years. And again, I don't think that would have happened if she had stayed at home, just given what we've seen with her elder sister. That certainly didn't happen. And that confidence that I got this, or I can figure this out, certainly Albert has had that influence in terms of giving her that life skill that gives us confidence that she can tackle whatever stands.
Great, thank you. Liam, back to you. As you're in your final year now, it's coming really soon to an end, isn't it? Anyway, when did you start looking at post-secondary options? And then how did AC assist you in making your decision?
So I've been looking at post-secondary options since probably about grade 9. I think it's kind of been just one of those things that I've just wanted to decide before I actually got to my final year. And I think that Albert really helped me, because I believe that it was my English teacher in grade 9 or grade 10, I believe it was grade 9. She told me that, wow, I think you'd make a great lawyer. And kind of ever since then, that's just been my path. I've decided that I want to go to law school and I want to study law. And then it was the guidance counselor at Albert who actually found me a very interesting program that you do a couple years in Canada and then you go over to study in the UK. And so I think I learned about that program in about grade 10. And I think since that year, it's basically been my path, and Albert has really helped me with that path. And they actually found that path for me by discovering this program for me. And it really interested me. And especially in grade 10 with our careers class, just having that class really assisted in figuring out not just where I was going and what I wanted to do, but actually how I can do that and what I need to actually get there. And then moving on from that in grade 11, just getting my marks for early acceptances. And I think that Albert just does a great job at explaining to you the process of applying to post-secondary and then getting to post-secondary, and especially like how you can do that and finding programs that are best suited for you. And I just think that Albert is really great with that.
Perfect. So now tell us where you're going.
I'm going to, I haven't accepted yet, but I'm probably going to go to Trent University to study a Bachelor of Arts in Environmental Studies and a law degree.
Perfect. I know you're going to crush it when you're there. So Janine, today, actually, we've just returned to classes in person from a province-wide mandated closure for remote learning. How do you compare the boys' online learning experience now compared to, let's say, a year ago in the public system?
There is no comparison. There is no comparison. And rather than slam the public school system like I did earlier, which I'm sorry I did, that's wrong.
You
But
did
anyway,
have
they, I chose to keep them home for the next couple of days, you know, for personal reasons. And I wouldn't have done that if we were in the public school system, because to be honest, it was like they'd check in the morning in the old days, and they would maybe be online for an hour, and then they would tell me, oh, everything's done. That was what I heard daily. Oh, no, we're done. We're done for the day. Everything's done. No, I don't have to do anything else. Whereas now my boys are in school from the time school starts till the time school is done, and they still have homework to do afterwards. They're in there. They're being monitored. They know they have to, you know, it's like going to work. They're still going to work. And I appreciate that so much. So thank you again.
Good. Good. So final question here. Liam, what advice would you give to new students entering Albert.College?
So advice to give to new students entering Albert.College would honestly just get involved in as many things as you can. At Albert, there are so many opportunities to better yourself and make more relationships with people from around the world. And building those relationships is very important to developing who you are. And then it actually makes it easier going next year into post-secondary. I know that I feel very well prepared because of how many opportunities I have had at Albert to just build more relationships and look at the world from other people's perspectives. And that's just, I know that's going to really assist me next year moving on from Albert. So, and Albert offers so many extracurricular opportunities, from trips, from Duke of Ed trips out into Algonquin Park, to canoe trips, to even the camp at the beginning of the year is just, and all of them are just, they're so much fun. And just getting involved in all of them is just the best thing you can do, because then from that you can choose, oh, I like this one more, I'll go pursue more things like that. Or I didn't like this one as much, I'll probably stay away from things like that in the future. It's just really beneficial to just get involved in as many things as you can the first year, just to figure out what you want to do.
Awesome. And yeah, I think it's key just to step out of your comfort zone and try something new, right? Okay. So I think we have a couple of questions in the chat room. So Tracy, do you want to help us with that? And then we'll go on to the application procedure and some information about that.
Sure. I think the first one we're going to have Mr. Muscat answer. How does the school manage the students' desire to be online socially? Online for learning is useful. Online, to be online, is something else that we would like to curtail.
Absolutely. I hear this from parents all the time. You know, the unfortunate piece is that phones are ubiquitous. You know, it's fortunate and unfortunate. It's fortunate because it can be used as a learning tool. But it is ubiquitous, and I don't need to tell you, your kids are on their phones all the time. We don't confiscate phones unless there's an issue. We do have rules in place. So for example, when they're dining in Ackerman Hall, you know, you're sitting down to eat, you're not on your phones, you're talking, you're socializing. So we do police those. Our staff polices the after school study hall in the dorm rooms. So, you know, we're expecting to see kids performing and doing what they need to do. And if it becomes a problem, there are cases where we do confiscate technology. Teachers are, it's kind of Janine spoke to about the rigor in our online program. Well, the rigor's in our classrooms as well. So if class is going on, they don't turn a blind eye to a student, clearly not doing work on their phones. But during breaks, is it unusual to see students on their phones? No, it's not. And especially because we're international, you have to remember a lot of our students have family elsewhere. And because of the time difference, maybe that 10:30 between classes is the only time they may have a chance to phone their family. So students do have phones, they do use them. We police them as much as we can. But I don't want to leave you with the impression that it's phones are confiscated and they're not online. The kids are online. I don't know, Heather, if you maybe have a perspective from the boarding houses, if that's different.
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, the kids know the expectations, and for the most part, they follow them. They know that they're there for that 2 hours of dedicated study time, and they tend to really buckle down. It's quiet in the residence. There's not a lot of movement, so they know that 2 hours is for work, and so they're actually. I'm amazed at how great they are when it comes to the technology and the expectations.
Yeah, and the other piece to add to that is, and it's changed a little bit because of COVID. So before COVID, there was mandatory, doesn't matter if you're boarding or day, there was mandatory after school activities. We still have those activities for our boarding students because they live here, but just to keep things safe, we encourage our students, the day students, to go home if they can, just have your students in the building after school, although there are still obviously some programs that they can voluntarily join. But when it's mandatory, if they're in after school drama or after school band or after school basketball, they're not on their phones. So it's also those activities that curtail the hours they may spend otherwise online.
So the second question was, how many boys, girls do you have in the school? Now, Mr. Muska has answered this in the chat, but I'll let him read it out so that if anybody's missed it in the chat.
Sure. So we have 192 students enrolled between grades 7 through 12. Of those 192, it's 108 boys to 84 girls. So a slight fewer number of boys than girls. And that fluctuates year to year depending on our applicants.
Any other questions?
There aren't any in the chat or in the Q&A at this point.
Okay. So Tracy, if you would maybe share your screen.
Of course.
Perfect. Hopefully everybody can see that. It's a little infograph about some of our stats here at the school. And then the next slide talks a little bit about the application process. So everything is available, of course, online. We ask for a completed application. We ask for 2 years academic reports with teacher comments if possible. There's a teacher evaluation form that's downloaded and the teacher completes. We do have an entrance test, which takes approximately 40 minutes to write. If English is not your first language, then there are language assessment tests, either TOEFL or IELTS, that we accept as well. Once we have all of those, then we would finish off the process with an interview, either in person or by Zoom. For obviously the last quite a while we've been in the pandemic, we are able to do everything remotely. So we can supervise the entrance test over Zoom, and then we also do the personal interview by Zoom as well. And then just to let you know, as I said, this is all on our website, but our different fees, and we do have international student fees, and that's for our grades 7 to 12. And then the next slide would be our Canadian students, Canadian boarding students. And then the last is our day student tuition fees. So again, all of this is located on our website. We're very flexible as a small school, so we really try to work with families when it comes to tuition payments and that sort of thing. Scholarships and tuition aid. So for a small school, I think it's pretty amazing the number of students and families that we're able to help. So there are two kinds of tuition aid. So the first one is through Apple Financial Services, and that's based on need. So it's a third-party company. Again, this is all available online. So parents complete the online application. Apple Financial will review that. Then they will send the school back an estimate of what they feel the need that the family should get. Then that goes to our tuition aid committee, and we try to divvy out the money to as many students as we can. So that's for the bursaries or tuition aid. The second side of that are scholarships, and that is based on merit. So there is a scholarship application and a rubric, and that is again on the website. You'll notice that our deadline was January 15th, but we do keep that open for new applicants. So please don't be discouraged if you think you've missed that January 15th deadline. We know that there are still applicants applying to the school, so that is still open to you. And over 32% of our students here or families are on some type of tuition aid at the school. And then post-secondary, Liam talked a little bit about that, but 100% of our graduating class are pursuing post-secondary studies, and our students get an average of typically six acceptances. So they really do have choices of where they want to go and to ensure that it is the right fit. Students also receive an average of 10 hours of individualized counseling from our guidance director. So it really is one-on-one, and they really get to know the kids and what programs are best for them and that they'll be successful in. If you have any questions, if there's anything that we haven't answered, please feel free to reach out to us. You can email us at info@albert.ca. You can also call us, and any one of our colleagues would be more than happy to assist. So again, thank you to all of our panelists. Really appreciate your time today. And thank you to all of you who joined us on our webinar. Hopefully you will leave here learning a little bit more about Albert.College and just feeling a little more comfortable about our small family school. So again, thanks to everyone, and hopefully the snow will be gone soon.
Mrs. Kidd, we do have another question that's popped up. Do you have a school swim team?
We typically do. During the pandemic, things have obviously changed a little bit, but yes, we typically do have a swim team here at the school, and there's an off-site pool that they train at that's very close here in the area.
Thank you. And then we've had another question. Great session. Thank you. Where can we find a recording of the session?
So I think we'll let you know. I think you will have a recording of this, Tracy, and then we can send it out, or we can post it on the website as well.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Let me just see. I don't think we have any other questions.
There is one that just came in. You talk about the chapel and said something like religious. Do you have any specifics? So historically, Albert.College is affiliated with the Methodist Church, and the chapel, which used to host religious services, still is kind of the central part of our school. It's actually a beautiful building, and because we're an old building, unlike more modern buildings, we have no PA system. So every other school I worked at, I could get on my phone, press a button, and it would pipe my voice into every classroom. That's how announcements were done every morning. But we gather as a community. We gather in the chapel, and we call it chapel. But it's not a religious service. So it's just really an opportunity to share announcements. We sometimes have guest speakers. We had a chapel chat this morning. Our director of teaching, learning, and innovation came and spoke about diversity. So that's the location. There are 2 times of the year where there's a religious ceremony. There is at Christmas time. We do the traditional reading of carols and lessons, which have biblical readings around Christmas. And at Remembrance Day, we typically invite in a member of a religious faith, and that fluctuates. So some years, the most recent one was an imam. The year before that, we had a Catholic priest. Time before that, we had, I believe, a minister, a Presbyterian minister. So it really does fluctuate. We try and get different religious voices year to year at the Remembrance Day ceremony.
Okay. I don't think we have any more questions that I can see. So again, thank you to everybody, and hopefully you leave here knowing a little bit more about Albert.College. So enjoy the rest of your day.